Hello everyone once again. Um, it is currently January 16th, technically 17th because it's at like 3 a.m. Uh, it is now day 542 of Codename Conqueror's development. And no, I didn't just remember that off the top of my head. I was just remembering what I saw from my phone that's over there. Um, Well, in typical Kevin fashion, I have zero idea what I said last time or what my next update video will be. But here we are with another quote-unquote milestone. By quote-unquote, I mean like typical, except again, the typical Kevin fashion, I get excited that my something is almost done, so I make an update video before it's actually done because I get excited. Um, so this time it's Conqueror's home UI. So what I did was I was working on the bracket for a long time. I got the winners and losers bracket and all the rounds and all that jazz. I got the set data. I put it in the server, all that jazz. Everything was going swell. And from my memory, the only thing I need to like work on in terms of um, the bracket is to make sure that when a grand final set is rendered, oh, that's a story. Small story. So before I get to there, small story. When I was making the winners and losers bracket, right? When I was making the conditional rendering of every set card for a bracket, so like if there's 32-man tournament, then you don't need the 33rd, 34th sets because those don't exist yet. So I was making the bracket 1, then 2, then 4, etc., etc. I forgot grand finals existed. So that was kind of omitted from my data. Sorry. Um, and I realized when I was portraying one of the brackets that wait a second, there's no grand finals. And I had winners finals and I had losers finals. This is like imagine how long it took for me to get winners bracket done, get losers bracket done, all the set data, all the labels, everything, all the tedious work, got it done, put it together, made it panable, made so you can scroll across the bracket. And then I see my bracket like, something's missing. So I quickly made the grand finals and the grand finals reset set cards. And of course, as you know, the grand finals and grand finals reset don't always occur, right? The winners finals and winners semifinals will always occur always. There's no exception because the way I made it is that you cannot have a bracket unless you have at least 4 people. Because if you have if you have a 3-man tournament and you can't figure out yourselves, I'm sorry, I can't help you. So if you have a 4-man tournament, sure, I can make that bracket for you. That's what the app does. So with a 4-man tournament, you will have winners semis and one winners finals. That's just how it works. But if it's a single elimination bracket, you will not have a grand finals or grand finals reset because that's how single them works. You have winners finals and you're done. Now, so that's why it took me to lose it. That's why it took me until finishing the losers bracket to realize I had missed grands, and then I had to make grands, but only on the conditional event that a losers bracket exists. And then I had to make the conditional event that if the winner of the losers final set is the same as the winner of the grand final set, then the grand finals reset is rendered, which is a lot of logic, and it's difficult for the way I organized it. It was a little difficult to portray because of what we call separation of concerns. Like the bracket should only render the bracket based off the number of players, but then it needed data. It needed the input of data from the server, which I didn't want to do, to tell if it should render that bracket or not. So I just added an extra parameter so that it still did not have to do that. Because I don't want that tournament setup to have anything to do with the server. As little to do with the server as possible to speed up load times and render times and to save CPU usage. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. So it should only ever call the server once when you first open the entire tournament page. Anyway, that was all just for the tournament stuff. That's actually not even what I wanted to talk about, but I just wanted to get that off my chest because it was a lot of struggle with that one, but I got it to work. So what was the point of me saying that? I forget. But oh yeah, so that's what it was. So the only thing I think I have to do left with that is rendering the round titles with respect to the grand finals. So if a grand finals happens or not, it can render winners round 6 or winners round 7. But if there's no grands reset, then you don't need winners round 7. It's only winners round 6. And then I have to ask myself, do I want to include the titles? Do I want to trade or substitute a winners round 6 with a winners finals, or winners round 5 with a winners semifinals? I have to decide that later. Not my problem right now. I mean, it is my problem. Just future Kevin's problem. I'll give that to him. So that's where the bracket is. Also, I've been researching bracket theory a lot recently, and you might be asking, what the heck does that mean? Bracket theory is for double elimination brackets. How do you fill in the loser's bracket? That's actually a question among bracket makers. I don't know what you call them. The theory, bracket theory goes, how do you organize the losers of the winner's bracket with the loser's bracket to optimize question mark? As in, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to optimize? The goal is to avoid as many repeated sets as possible. So if I lose to Jimmy from down the lane in winners, and I lose the next set, and he loses the next set, we should not be playing again until losers semifinals. Like, imagine if you lost to Jim Bob in winners round 2. You go to the losers round 2, or whatever. You go to losers round 4, and you have to fight Jim Bob again, who got limited to the next round. So that kind of sucks. So the bracket theory tries to avoid that as much as possible by a special like order of filling in of the losers bracket. It's really weird. I did look at it a long time ago. Oh, when I was actually first constructing the winners bracket, I looked at it. And it's really confusing. But I also thought constructing the losers bracket was confusing, and it really wasn't. Once I figured it out. So I am now superb Mr. Tournament Man. I can create a bracket and fill it in perfectly by hand, and I can do that. In case Smash G crumbles, I can do that. Yeah. The only problem is that I don't yet know how to fill in the losers bracket from the winners bracket, or how to do that on the app, like via the server and pulling data and whatever. So a lot of the placeholder stuff, like you know how you see a bracket and it says winner of X fights loser of the winner set? Well, I don't know what that loser set is, so right now the placeholder text is just It says loser of because I don't know yet. That's where the bracket is. That's the last place I left the bracket, was just the winners round titles, and the placeholder text for filling in the losers bracket. So those are the two things I know I have to revisit before publishing the app. Eventually, that's again future Kevin's problem, not mine. So I got upset about that because for when making the bracket, I got into a lot of roadblocks, a lot of like mental roadblocks. Like I go up here, progress, stop, progress, stop, and I got really irritated. So I was like, fine, I'm gonna drop this for now, and I'm gonna do something a little bit more entertaining and a little bit more creative. So whenever I struggle with logic, whenever I struggle with dealing with the logic of a function, or how my code works, or how to optimize it, I usually turn away for a little bit, like a week, and I just go back to building UI, building the user interface or user experience on other parts of the app. So I said, you know what? I have like 3 big things to do in Conqueror until it's published. The database server, creating an event, and Conqueror as a whole. Technically also building a user account, but that's like a half step, you know? It's not a full step. At least I think right now. So I decided to go back to the Conqueror home and rework the UI. And I can't wait to show you pictures of the former UI because it was trash. It was actually trash. I have a version of Conqueror. Like the version I use actually as a demo when going to a different events, which is extremely outdated, like last InfinityCon outdated. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was so small, pathetic, color was off, no styling, no formatting, no. It was terrible. Oh God, I can't even, I cringe thinking about it. But that's okay. Do you know why? Because when you cringe at your past self, that means you've improved. And I most certainly have, because right now it looks sick. So that's what I actually wanted to talk about. It's been 10 minutes. I finally started actually talking about what I actually want to talk about is the Conqueror UI. I fixed it. I fixed it. The drop-down menus at the top, totally fixed. Like it was a modal, which is a fancy way of saying it was a sort of pop-up menu that disables everything else on the screen, which is a very bad practice. I didn't know that. And uh there's a lot of intricacies I could get into and could talk about, but I don't want to waste people's time unless you're actually interested in which you could just ask me when you see this, like, hey, can you just talk about this or more? Because I could talk about it for days, man. Coding is fun. So I reworked all of the UI of the drop-down menus because apparently, for React Native, drop-down menus are a bit of a sour spot because the core UI or the core React Native component for pickers, which I hate that name. I hate it. A drop-down menu is called a picker because you're picking an item, which sucks. I hate it. I'm gonna call it a drop-down menu. I don't care if it's 6 more syllables. The components for drop-down menus were deprecated, which means they're no longer existing. However, they technically still do exist, and they forgot to tell you that. I looked in the documentation and I found that the React Native pickers were deprecated, so they don't like you using it, but you still can. And there were no errors. I mean, okay. I shouldn't say no errors. There were certainly a good bit of errors. Um, the way the way to go about it was incredibly stringent and very strict. Stingy, other synonyms that start with S. So I worked around it. It took me a few days to work around it, but in the end, it worked out pretty well because right now it looks sick. It works and it looks sick. So right now we can only have one world region, which is the United States. Sorry, Europe. I will get to you in a second. Same thing with Japan and Australia and Latin America and wherever else you need to get to next. But Europe's probably gonna be the next goal, and then Japan. Actually, I might have to do Japan first because I want to include them for connectivity. But Europe is more English speaking, which sucks. So I'm gonna try to do both of them at the same time because I want Europe and Japan to be at the same time. Anyway, I digress. So we have US, which is its region right now, and then we have the season. It took me so long to get that working properly, but it's okay now. So if you select the season, quarter 4, 2021, quarter 3, 2021, quarter 1, 2020, doesn't matter. The season, when you select it, it toggles the data in all the states accordingly. All the null data, all of the null data is formatted correctly. So if there's no state PR for that season, then it just says, "Hey, there's no data here. Keep moving." Um, Everything looks really, really good. The state PRs look good. The list of players look really good. Um, the list of local tournaments even looks really good. Although there's some complication with that, which I'll have to look into later. Uh, all of it is really good. And here's the primary reason why I wanted to make this update video. I'm sorry, 14 minutes in, I'm finally getting to the point. Conqueror home menu is almost done. And that doesn't sound as climactic as it actually is because Codename Conqueror's home UI was originally planned to be Conqueror as a whole. So its database for different state information and player profiles and such, that was all Conqueror was meant to be. Back when I had the idea like 6 years ago, when I started working on the idea originally like 2 years ago, was Conqueror is a database for finding people, finding states, finding tournaments. Just your go-to encyclopedia library for all things Smash Brothers community and esports at large eventually. Not even that. Esports at large wasn't even the next step. It was just Smash Brothers because I was a pleb at the time. Um, so having it so close to being done now is honestly surreal. It's on like I remember when I first got the map working on the on my phone, like I was panning the map and I could select the state. I don't even think I could have selected this at the time. I don't even think I could have selected the state at the time. It was just I could move the map around. I could see the map on my phone and I was like, "Oh my God, this is Conqueror." I'm so happy. I'm tearing up. But no, this is Conqueror. This is Conqueror. I have every state. You can select every state. There's data there. You can toggle the seasons. You can toggle the game so that you can. I future-proofed it. I future-proofed it. I have potential other world regions and I have potential other games like Smash Melee and Guilty Gear Strive at the ready. I future-proofed it. I really did. Um, so that no matter what happens, like if other new seasons get added, if new games get added, I can just add some data. There we go. It displays it properly. You're welcome. It just it's perfect. The only thing, and that's why I say it's almost done. The only thing left is technically two things because it's like a two-parter. The search menu. When you go to search, it doesn't search anything. There is no database for it to search for it to like thrift through like in the files like here it is. It doesn't sift through anything. It's just a random text input box. Um, so I'm gonna have to take that text input and act and like take it as like an active filter for a list of components. Um, and then there's the second part is the list of components. I need a list of components. This is where the player profiles come in. Player profiles, commentator profiles, state profiles, region profiles, tournament series profiles. Like I need to start like making that. The good news is it's only one layout. So whether it's a player, a commentator, probably like a tournament series, or definitely not a state because I already did that. But you get the point. A character, like a Smash character, it should look the same. It should have some area for an image, some text for like a title or a subtitle, and then a little description box. So regardless of if you're looking at a commentator's profile, a player's profile, a sub-region, I guess, maybe, I don't know, it's gonna look the same. So I only have to construct the UI of like one or two things, depending on how drastically different some of the categories are going to be. So how different is a player versus a commentator's profile going to look? Probably not very different. So it's very exciting to me that I have two things left to do: player profiles and search menu, and everything will just be done. Conqueror will be done. And there's hardly any nitpicking I have left to do. Because there's still some glitches like the infinite pan. Like I could just keep panning on the map and it just goes away forever. That I assume will get figured out pretty quickly once I actually spend a day to fix it. Because right now it hasn't been my focus. It works. It's sure it's a bug, but like I'll get to it like eventually. Like I have a day dedicated to fixing bugs. Um, so that's what this update video was about, was that Conqueror as a home is nearly done. And once it is done, then I will cry. And then I will cry. Maybe on the recording, who knows. Um, so you might be asking like, yeah, but sure, once you finish the page of the UI, you still have a lot of data to fill. Well, yeah, but that's just data filling, you know? That just takes a day to just be like, look, okay, type it in. Look, okay, type it in, you know? So what I did was I will probably not mention their name because I don't know if they want to remain anonymous, but somebody, a TO, has been helping me quite a bit with a lot of things. Whether it be feedback on the bracket system, feedback on the UI of the home system. Anyway, so I had him or her get I can't do it all alone. I can't fetch data all by myself. So I can't like I mean I could, but it'll take way too long when there's more efficient ways of doing it. So I made a Google Forms of, hey, what state are you in? And give me the list of all your PRs and all your local tournaments. And I had him or her give it to as many TOs as he or she knew from every single state possible. So like hopefully they know people in California, the freaking Michigan, Colorado, Utah, you name it. So hopefully in like a week's time I'll have the data to fill in, so I don't have to go digging on my own on Twitter and Smash Wiki and all that jazz. Because it's very difficult to find PRs from Twitter or whatever. And what if there's no graphic? Then how will I fill that space if there's no PR graphic? Do I just take a screenshot of the tweet or something? I don't know. So I'm gonna have them do it instead. So once I get the data, I'm just gonna fill it in, and Conqueror will be like set. And then of course I have to like make every player a button. So like say I'm PR number 6 in CFL, which I am. Um, I want you to be able to tap my tag, like the button, or I can make it a button. So I can tap my tag and it takes you to my player profile, which will be nice. It'll be really cool. And that player profile is also searchable through the search component. Um, that that's the goal. So that's here. I'm like right here. That's not that far. It's really not. I have to fill in some data, make it a button, and make search work. Yeah, make search just filter the proper things. Um, I am really excited because yes, as soon as I get that done, I will probably cry. Because it'll be 7 years in the making, and I'll finally have it done, and there'll be very, very little left to do. In terms of like, because I talked to some TOs about like, I talked to a particular TO about me and my progress so far with the app, and I'm gonna say he said, uh, you should probably not shoot for the moon, because if you shoot for the moon, you'll never get it done. So you gotta like you gotta cut it short. And I'm like, you're right. So a lot of the things I have been doing is cutting myself short. Shooting for the moon, I'm just gonna shoot for low Earth orbit for now. Still going pretty far. Anyway, it's like 22 minutes, so I'm gonna have to cut it short now. I've been on a huge tangent, but I just like talking about it. And maybe you guys enjoy the update videos. Who knows? It is day 542. Conqueror Home is nearing its final stages of completion, which is super exciting. It's actually so awesome. I can't wait to see it and start crying because it's gonna be so good. And I hope people like it. I just hope people like it so that it's just gonna connect everybody. I can just go to Europe, go to some random country like France and be like, who are the top 10 players in France? I can't wait to do that, man. It's gonna be so handy. It's gonna be so handy. Um, but yeah, um, my this update video is actually part of my quota for today. Every day I make like a list of things I need to do, and I try my best to do it all in that day. If I finish early, the rest of the day goes to research on different things I need to learn about, like how to stop something from panning infinitely, uh, or how to make a search button work. That's progress of Conqueror as of day 542. Next steps is fill in a whole bunch of data, make a few other sample tournaments to view. I have some close friends who are giving me links to their favorite tournament that they've ever entered so that I can make that tournament visible on Codename Conqueror. So fill in a bunch of data. Technically more data to fill in because the tournaments are essentially filling data. Make user accounts, which will eventually involve me finishing the data server and like finishing creating the database and the server, because that costs money, like per space and or per time you have that server running and how much space it's acquiring or occupying, which costs money. So that's obviously going to be the last step because there's no point in me wasting 2 months worth of um, by having a server worth like renting a let's call it renting a server. 2 months worth of renting a server if the server isn't ready yet. If the UI isn't ready to house that data yet. Um, and lastly, creating an event. Creating an event, I'm probably going to prioritize next because I really, really, really want that to be like, because once I finish the UI for creating an event, Conqueror is like done. Conqueror is like almost done because then you have like two things left: database, user account, you're set. That's creating an event. The UI behind that is probably going to be like biggest hurdle, the next and last biggest hurdle, I think. In my experience thus far of everything I've went through, I think the UI behind creating an event is going to be the most difficult. Um, yeah. I can't wait to look back on everything. I can't wait till when I publish the app and it's set and everybody loves it and people ask me like what was the hardest part and I'll be like the hardest part was everything. Every single step. I just bit my lip. Ow. Okay. I hope you all have a fantastic night. Please stay hydrated. Take care of yourselves. I was gonna say, in the wise words of Etika, have yourselves a good one, because I don't swear, but I'll sign off with my typical, until next time. I missed the record button.